All right, you guys ready?
Let's do it.
Rock and roll.
A little more energy in your voice. Pretend you're calling a play in the huddle. A little pizzazz. That's why none of my plays worked at Washington. That's why we call plays in the huddle. Just kind of,
Just
need a little more
changed
excitement, remember?
A little excitement.
Make
here.
every
We got
play
it.
sound like it's the best play you ever called.
That's right.
What's up, guys? Got the whole crew back together. Clean pocket. AQ Shipley, Justin Pugh, Coach Jay Gruden. We're going to dive into some teams in the AFC.
The core of what made Sean Payton successful, they don't have any of it.
They've got some dudes.
It's fucking Patrick Mahomes.
If they go 8-9, I will personally fly down and give you a full body massage.
Let's start with the AFC West. Been dominated by the Chiefs. They've won 8 straight. A little bit of drama there this offseason, right? Receivers getting in trouble. They've added a couple new speed guys. Like, what are the Chiefs going to have to do to remain on top? I mean, from my perspective, they got the best player in football right now. They struggled at the receiver position, added some pieces. Where do we think they are?
So for me, I think obviously they need to just continue to get better weapons. I mean, they won it last year, not because of their receivers. They won it in spite of their receivers. They won it in spite of a couple pieces on the offensive line because they have 2 guys that are just better than everybody else.
Defense played
and their defense played out of their mind.
ridiculous.
That's exactly right. So in order for them to continue to stay on top, now they're not going to get all the bounces. They're not going to get all the breaks. They're not going to have the same luck and injuries, right? And so when that happens, now you're going to have to add pieces. And, you know, Andy's smart, and they're going to do a great job there. They went out and got a receiver in the first round. They're going to have to get some pieces on the offensive line, which they did. So they took the measures they needed to continue to stay on top. We'll just see if they get the same bounces and the same breaks and the same luck that they have.
I mean, you speak about luck, but also they went on the road to Baltimore, to Buffalo. They won games on the road this year. It shows you that Patrick Mahomes is by far the best player in the NFL. But you also got to give a shout out to Andy Reid and Veach, the GM. He is constantly putting talent around those guys. I mean, you look at on the defensive side of the ball, you got guys making plays, and you're like, wait, where do they find Sorensen? Where do they find
Chris Jones?
I mean, well, Chris Jones. I mean, they knew who he was. But McDuffie. I mean, you have list goes on and on. You look at the offensive line. You got Creed Humphreys. Trey Smith was like a 5th or 6th rounder. So
Right.
Veach has done an unbelievable job. All of this despite ownership not spending really any money on the Chiefs. Just goes to show you how good that trio is of Veach, Reid, Mahomes.
Mahomes, higher or lower, 4,300 pass yards this year, especially with the additions of Worthy, Hollywood Brown. You know, still got Travis Kelce, right? Shored up their offensive line a little bit. What do we think?
Higher. That's as simple as that. I mean, I am going to...
Fucking Patrick Mahomes. It's
Exactly.
higher. It's higher.
It's
you added
higher.
in some... Rashee Rice
He's
is a
gonna be
big question mark.
5,000.
How long is he going to be suspended for? You got 2 dudes that can burn on the outside. That kind of come in and have that Tyreek Hill, fill in. So it's got to be higher.
I'm going lower just to be different. I think
Why?
the Chiefs actually are at their best when they run the ball with Pacheco. I really
Yeah.
do. And I know Patrick. He's going to make a ton of great plays that not every quarterback can make. But this is a physical football team, and they rely on that. And Pacheco, when they started to make their run at the end of the year, was playing very well.
Yeah.
And I think that he's going to have another big year. They will take some shots, obviously, with the speed they have with Hollywood and obviously Worthy. They got Rashee Rice, a big player. The question mark is big for them because he emerges a really good receiver.
Yes.
Physical, the shallow crosses, all that. That's not Worthy's style. That's not Hollywood Brown's style.
No.
Those guys aren't going to run shallow crosses now, sit down in zone and catch and split the safety and the linebacker. Now, they need the physical presence out there, so I'm worried about that. So when I find out about his status, maybe I'll go higher. But until then, I'm going lower because I think Pacheco's the guy.
Higher or lower, 34.5 pass touchdowns.
34.5, 17 games. That's 2 a game. See how I
good
did
math.
that math?
That was good math.
I did that math on my
Holy
own.
shit,
all
Gruden.
by
Louisville
myself.
math right
University
there.
of Louisville. Andy Reid does such a good job of scheming around the goal line and red zone. I'll probably go higher than that because they run all those little bubble screens and the little flat leads and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Opposite
Yeah.
entry points and all that. He'll get 1 or 2 of those every 2 weeks. So yeah, I'll go higher than that.
I'll go higher too. I agree. I think Andy looks at those little bubble screens, the short pass game as an extension of the run game. And if he's down at the 4, 5, 3, whatever, you're going to see all those little RPOs, just like you saw in the game winner in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And those are passing touchdowns.
Ran a bubble screen to Kelce to get to the 1, and then you run the little zigzag play to Hardman for the touchdown.
Yeah, I watched the Chiefs a bunch last year, and what I like about their offense is that they run all the same plays in all different personnel groups. So they can call a play and have the capability to run out of 11, 12, 13. They just plug and play guys, and so everybody gets feel for all the plays, right? And if somebody goes down, they just step right in. This playbook is, very good and structured, but everybody's not learning all these crazy plays, right? And when you watch it on tape, you just see the same stuff showing up with different guys doing it. Las Vegas Raiders hired a new coach, Antonio Pierce. Kind of did good at the end of the year, right? They brought in Gardner Minshew, kind of have 2 quarterbacks, may the best man win. Obviously still have Davante Adams, one of the best receivers in the game. Where do we feel, are the Raiders going to push the Chiefs in any way this year?
No. The answer is no, and it starts with their quarterbacks, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they did enough to improve there. They're sticking with their 2 guys. They obviously got Minshew, but Aidan O'Connell, who was average at best last year, that's the guy they're kind of riding with. Obviously, they bring in Minshew, who can give them a different dynamic. But, listen, it's a one-horse race at the top, and the other 3 are trying to chase it. And you're starting to see it, like, even in the way that all those other 3 teams drafted. It's like, how can we keep up with these guys offensively? They went offense with Brock Bowers in the first. They went and got some pieces to improve their offensive line. I just don't think they have enough talent. I really don't. I think they made the right move with the head coach, and I think they're going to try and exemplify his personality, his tenacity, his grit, all that stuff, but they just don't have enough talent.
The way I see it is they're building for the future here. If they would have gone out and reached or traded up, given away a bunch of assets to go up and get one of these quarterbacks who we're not even sure how they're going to pan out, I hate that.
Yeah.
You know my philosophy. Build through the defense and offensive line. Aidan O'Connell will go out there. Gardner Minshew can come in and play football. But if you don't have talent around those guys in general and have a good foundation, you're screwed.
Yeah.
You're trying to chase the Chiefs. Let's let them come back down to earth a little bit. Chiefs got some aging players. Build for the future, and I think that's exactly what the Raiders did.
Yeah, they got problems. They got a new coach, new coordinators. They lost their best player, other than obviously Davante Adams.
Yeah,
Josh Jacobs is a good player now.
Yeah.
And they're going to replace him with who? Xavier White, Alexander Madison.
Right.
That's a step down, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And for them to be good, they got to play physical football and run the football. And I don't think those are the guys that can carry the load for them. So that's a problem. They got 2 good tight ends now, Bowers and Mayer. They drafted Mayer last year, so that's a good sign for them. Take a little pressure off Davante, but they're not good enough to beat you through the air. Now they're not good enough to beat you on the ground. They're not good enough defensively to get enough stops. So this team, I think, will be drafted in the top 5 next year.
I think they're building for that. You know what I mean? I feel like they're not like.
How do you build to draft in the top 5?
Here we go. I'll tell you how. You just don't give them the talent to succeed. You look at what the teams do. Like
they're trying their best.
They're trying. They didn't draft a quarterback, so
Well,
they didn't go out and sign a quarterback. So it's like, hey, we're not going
sign Minshew.
Yeah,
$10 million bucks.
Yeah, he's not the answer for the future. You think he is?
He might be. Give him a chance.
All
Aidan
right,
O'Connell
maybe.
might be. He only played a year.
So let them go find out. We're not giving them a full tool in the toolbox.
I'm just disappointed they let Josh Jacobs go for nothing, and they didn't really, they didn't go out and get Derrick Henry. They went out and got Xavier White and Alexander Madison, which is befuddling to me because it's a very important position. I know people don't count the running back as an important position, but for a team like the Raiders, who have a young quarterback, whether it's Minshew or O'Connell, they got to be able to hand the ball off.
Yeah.
And I'd like for them to get it back that can
Yeah, if they can run the football,
times.
they can find ways to get Davante Adams the ball. He's the best player on their team, right?
Yeah.
I like the addition of Brock Bowers, taking him where they took him in the draft, right? They got 2 good tight ends 2 years in a row. Like, those guys are going to be good players. That'll help, but
if they can block. I don't know if Bowers is a good blocker or not. That's the key for him. He's got to be able to block a little bit because they'll just treat him as a wide receiver. Let's play nickel every time he's out there.
Yeah.
But if he can block and force some teams to play some base defense, now he can really stretch them vertically. He'll be something to deal with if they can do that.
Denver Broncos, right? Big storyline here. Take a quarterback with the 12th pick in the draft, Bo Nix. Jay, I mean, do you think this guy's going to be successful? Do you think he's going to play right out the gates?
Yeah, I think he's going to have to. They got to try. He's 26. I mean, it's not like he's going to.
Right.
25, 26.
Right.
So, yeah, he's probably going to play. Stidham did some good things. They went out and got Zach Wilson, which You know, the one thing you don't want to do for Sean Payton is have a three-way competition in camp.
Yeah.
Because the guys don't get enough reps. Bo Nix will not a chance be ready if that's the case. If they're going to name Bo Nix a starter, they got to do it now.
Yeah.
He's got to get every single rep, and other guys can fend for themselves for the scraps.
Yeah.
Right? They got to
Right.
get Bo Nix ready right now because Sean's offense is pretty diverse in what they do, personnel groupings, pass concepts, even the run game. But I think Denver was not very good throwing the football last year at Russell Wilson, right? So I just don't know if their quarterbacks will be ready, but they're going to have to rely on the running backs that they have, McLaughlin and obviously Williams. Those are good backs, and they're going to have to run the ball.
I think they're the worst team in the AFC West. There's nothing, when I look at the Broncos, there's nothing that pops out, and I'm like, wow. I'm nervous about playing those guys this week. Bo Nix, I think we'd be talking a whole lot more about Bo Nix if Michael Penix didn't go 8 in the draft, about how high he went. It was a buyer's remorse market where the Broncos probably reached a little bit for Bo Nix. I thought he was probably going to go late in the first round.
I think all three of those quarterbacks really, I mean, if you just pulled a name out of the hat and said, this is our starter, you'd probably feel about the same right now going into the season.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you? Stidham did some decent things, and Zach has really never had a great opportunity out there. Just working with Sean Payton might help a little bit. And then obviously a rookie like Bo Nix. I mean, I don't really feel good about any one of the three. And if you don't feel good about that position, you got problems there.
Agreed.
You got major problems, don't you, Colt?
Big problems.
I mean, the circus kind of left town, though. The whole Russell Wilson thing, that's all you could talk about. So finally they've moved on from that. At least they're like putting a Band-Aid on it. Here we go, we're moving on.
Yeah.
So at least they're moving in the right direction, but they're just going to get clobbered this year.
You know, my hot take is I think we might see a little bit of Zach Wilson this year. Who knows, right? Fresh start, right? Never really got it all figured out at the Jets. Gets with Sean Payton. My issue is I love Vance Joseph on defense, and the defense kept him in a bunch of games last year, and I think their defense will be all right. But it's more like, who are these guys throwing to? You say you want to pick a quarterback out of the hat, right? They drafted Troy Franklin from Oregon, right? Speed guy. But they've just been pretty inconsistent. They traded Jerry Jeudy, right?
You know, what's crazy about this offense, Sean Payton, when he was at New Orleans, right?
Yeah.
They had a huge tight end presence, right?
Yep.
Adam Troutman runs like a 4.8. Right? He's not a tight end presence. They had a huge running back out of the backfield presence. They don't really, Javante and McLaughlin and Samaje Perine are more runners, not pass catchers. So I'm surprised that he hasn't addressed that. They love Michael Thomas in the slot, working the option routes. They don't have that. Courtland Sutton's not that guy. Josh Reynolds not that guy.
Right.
Troy Franklin's not that guy. So they don't have that guy either. So the core of what made Sean Payton successful, they don't have any of it at Denver. It's just a weird dynamic the way he's put this team together, being his second year or third year, whatever it is.
They just don't have any talent. That's what's crazy about this division is when you know you have the Chiefs at the top of the division and nobody went out and made major moves to go get guys. Yeah, you reach and you steal somebody at 12 or so you say, steal. I mean, like you said, like any of these three guys, like you're not super comfortable with saying, hey, we're going to go win a bunch of games. Like they lost their starting center. They didn't go make a ton of moves on I mean, I just don't know what they're doing out there. I really don't.
But they don't have a way to get the ball easy completions. Like when Drew played at New Orleans, think about the easy completions he had to
all
Kamara,
over the place. Yeah.
And Michael Thomas and Jimmy Graham.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not easy, don't get me wrong, but
No.
they don't have any one of those.
Yeah.
They don't have that offensive line either.
They don't have that offensive line
down in New
either.
Orleans
So
was great.
I don't know where they're going to manufacture the easy plays for the quarterback. That's the thing, other than maybe a bubble screen, perimeter screen, things like that. But they just don't have the people to fit Sean's offense.
Moving on to the Chargers. New head coach Jim Harbaugh hired Greg Roman as his offensive coordinator. I love Herbert's game. He can make any throw. He's a competitor. He battles through injuries, right? But it's a shift from what Kellen Moore and the Chargers offensively looked like last year to what they're going to look like this year. Do you two guys think that up front at the Chargers, they're built to be a run-first team?
No, and I also don't think the guy that they drafted 5th overall is like just your road grader. He's not what Harbaugh had in San Fran with Yapati, Boone, Anthony Davis,
Staley,
Staley, Goodwin, right? Like that was a mauler group
ridiculous.
up front. And, you know, he does not have that group right now, but what I do think is you got arguably a top 3 quarterback in the league talent-wise, right? And what they've been doing hasn't worked, right? And so you bring in Greg Roman, you take a little pressure off of him instead of trying to make him make all these Superman throws and win it. He's going to be a much better football player in this offense. And I think they'll be a better team because of it.
Now you start looking at how the Chiefs are built. They're scoring points. They're doing all these things. There's a shift in the NFL going on right now. We'll get to the NFC West later on. But that punch them in the mouth style is kind of making a comeback. You start getting small offensive linemen and you're airing out, running these no-huddle offenses. That pretty boy football that we know and they dubbed us when we were in Arizona. You're starting to see this, like, slug it. We're going to run the ball. We're going to out-tough you football. And that's what Harbaugh is bringing to L.A. It's probably not the prettiest. You think of L.A., you don't think of just, grinding it out, running the ball. But that's what Harbaugh's going to do. He's going to play great defense. It's going to affect Herbert. He's not going to be throwing the ball as much. It's going to be run first.
Do you think the Chargers O-line, with the addition of Alt, is built for this?
No, I don't yet. But, there's a possibility. Listen, they drafted Joe Alt, 5th overall. He's the most NFL-ready offensive lineman by far that we watched.
Yeah.
Technically, physically, he's kind of got it all. But he's not a mauler. He's your new age tackle, right? He's built to pass protect, and he's going to be great at that. They got Corey Linsley still at center, stud, but he's been banged up a lot recently. They got guys, and they got the pieces to run Greg Roman's offense. It's just whether or not they have enough talent besides, just the offensive line, and I don't think they do.
And across the board, not just that Joe Alt isn't the mauler. They're moving him. He was a left tackle primarily in college, moving him to right tackle. I did that. And again, I made this comparison. It's like wiping your ass with the other hand. You're going to get the job done. It's going to be a little bit messy. And I don't love spending a pick that high and then playing him out of position. That's one of the things. Rashawn Slater's over there. He's not like a mauler either. They're all that offensive line. Corey Linsley's not a massive guy either.
Jay, Ladd McConkey going to be their best receiver?
Yeah, Quentin Johnson last year. They don't really have a tight end presence. They got Will Disley. I don't know. They were 28th in the league last year running the football. Not that they didn't try. They had Austin Eckler. He had some injuries.
Right.
I don't know where they're going to go. You're not going to just be able to run the ball because you're Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman just because you have some cool run checks.
Yeah.
You're going to have to block the point of attack. Hayden Hurst's going to have to come in and block. He's another tight end. Offensive line, if they're not big, powerful guys, then they got to run some outside zones, try to get on a perimeter. But then you're going to see a lot of 8-man fronts. They're going to see guys in the boxes. The receivers aren't going to scare anybody.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree.
Johnson's not going to scare anybody.
Yeah.
So these guys, the NFL's not stupid. They're going to line up in cover 2 and say, okay, run your duo play in your outside zone, your 3 tight end sets, and beat us up. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
They're going to have to throw the ball, and they have a great quarterback. I know that. But I'm just concerned about the weapons they have. They got J.K. Dobbins running back.
They added Gus Edwards.
They're going to eventually be in 3rd and 8. And when that happens, who are they going to? They lose Keenan Allen.
Lost Mike Williams.
Lose Mike Williams. I mean, these are 2 good players. They missed some time last year, I get it. But I just don't think they replace them with good enough players. So I'm worried about the Chargers. I know Jim's a great coach and Roman's a good offensive coach, but I just don't know if their personality matches the personnel that they have right now.
So based on that, Herbert, higher or lower 3,600 pass yards next year?
Lower, just based on volume. He's not going to get as many
anybody
attempts.
to throw it to.
Yeah.
Disley, Hurst, Quentin Johnson.
Well, we're going to find out. You spend 2 high
say
draft
lower,
picks.
too.
But,
Conkey?
Yeah.
He's good.
Quentin Johnson. I think he's got some weapons out there.
Johnson, I read on PFF, was the most covered receiver in the NFL last year as far
He's
as
6'5".
lack of separation.
Throw that thing up to him.
Yeah. The AFC West, to me, is other than the Chiefs, is really going to struggle, in my opinion. I think if you're playing out a conference team, if you're in the NFC, you want the AFC West. Take one on a chin against the Chiefs.
Yeah,
but
right.
I'll go 3-1 in that conference.
That's right.
I agree.
That's right.